I think meatballs.
Meatball.
Homemade meatballs.
Love a good meatball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Homemade meatballs, baby.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, traders.
Meatballs.
We're at episode 26 of Everything's Late, and especially the backing boards, and nobody dies.
Except me, because I don't have
Because
backing
you don't have
boards.
backing
Oh my
boards.
god. 26. That's how many meatballs that made, I think.
I was looking at polishing off the rest of the leftovers from Thanksgiving last night.
I polished off the leftovers just the other night. That's why I had to go to the liquor store again. Hey,
Barry Manilow.
I love to have him make me sick when I listen to it. It's horrible. Oh my god.
Big fan.
Oh, good for you. Okay. Anyway,
so this week, fighting distribution.
Yeah.
Actually, you've been fighting this bags and boards for a couple of weeks now.
Oh my god, I have. So yeah, I ordered 10,000 bags of boards. Ordered them from a different place, not from Diamond, not BCW's, different spot. Now, and they're usually like really, really good with them. However, excuse me, this time they didn't warn me they were on back order. It'd be about an extra week or so.
Right.
But the problem was, it was more than a week. It was about 2 weeks. So I got all these bags sitting here, like literally 10, 11,000 bags, right? No boards. And, again, to their credit, they did warn me. They were like, okay, this is going to be back ordered. It's going to be a bit, right? So, but it took a little bit more than a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then they called me on Friday and they're like, all right, we finally got these in. We're going to ship them right out to you. I said, okay, great. And they didn't ship it till Monday. And then they were supposed to be here tomorrow. And then I got a thing from FedEx saying, hey, guess what? We've moved your delivery schedule up a day. And I'm like, well, that is fantastic. But by a day, they may mean like 5 or 6 hours. Because they still have not shown up. So, and then it went from like, I'll be here from 8 to 1 to 8 to 1:30 to by 2 o'clock. Now it's by end of day. And I don't know if that means business day or midnight, but I'm not going to stick around to find out. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, distribution issues across the board have, of course, been just horrible. I don't understand.
Yeah,
they can't get their product into their warehouse, and then when they do, they can't get somebody to bring it here. It's just insane.
I mean, I typically have my DC stuff by the previous Wednesday.
Right.
And it's Thursday afternoon. I still don't have it. So, 3 weeks ago, just as a stopgap, I ordered 1,000 bags of boards from Diamond. And I'm like, typically, maybe a week, they'll be here. They got here today with no boards.
Wow.
And then, it was late October when I got my magazine bags, and the board showed up today. So I have magazine boards and current bags, so that's going to really do me a lot of good. I don't even know. It's just kind of silly now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's getting insane.
Yeah. I mean,
like we're 2 years away from the pandemic. You'd think that by now that they would have this kind of stuff figured out.
I mean, and why? My question is why? Like when they do their orders from these companies that make the bag of boards, and why don't they fill up a warehouse with them? Right. And why doesn't Diamond have a warehouse of supplies, full of supplies all the time?
Right.
They really should.
They don't. I mean,
yeah.
Do they have product there, and they've got it in reserve for some of the bigger?
For what? Higher oil prices? No, man. Sell the damn thing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I see sometimes with BCW, I'll order stuff from BCW, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, these will be in stock in 3 weeks," and I'll go on Amazon, and
they'll be selling them.
They'll be selling them out of their Amazon store,
right,
for like $20 for a thing of bags for 100 bags, and like $30. So there's like $50 for 100 bags of boards that we sell.
Yeah, I've had
$40 or
that
$50
conversation
like,
with my BCW rep before.
Yeah,
when they told me my stuff was on back order, but they've got it available.
Yeah,
to retail customers.
Why is that? Because they make more off of retail customers. That's why. No. So I mean I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a very bad idea. But I don't know. That's there's my wow for today. But whatever. Anyway, let's get to the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with comics? I was when we were doing the live feed in here yesterday. There's just nothing on the shelf. I mean, really slow week. Past couple of weeks.
Well, it is a 5 Wednesday month.
Okay.
We're trying to do a show. No, I'm sorry. It is a 5 Wednesday month, and they always, they always decrease what's coming out so they can go over 5 weeks instead of 4. Now, next week, I'm already crying and I'm already hurt because there's going to be so much next week. Next week is insane. Like huge titles, new Gargoyles. There's like two or three X-Men books. There's Spider-Man. There's Star Wars. I mean, they're huge books next week, and it's going to be a monster. So you should show up at 9:30 to do the video because it's going to take you a while.
Is it going to be that much?
I mean, it's it's going to. Well, I looked at my invoice. My invoice amount is almost twice as much next week as it was this week.
Wow.
It's almost twice the dollar amount. So please come in and buy some things because it's expensive next week.
I mean, and luckily that's, I don't think, at least judging from what I've seen in here, there hasn't been a dramatic decrease. As much as we're taking a hit in comics right now, there hasn't been much of a decrease of people in here buying new books.
No, there hasn't. And I like that very much. There are some people that are cutting down on things. There are people that are coming in and going, "Why I can't do all 13 Star Wars books?
Right?
I can't do all 23 Batman books. I can't." And I understand that. I mean, I get that. And I almost think that if they slow down on those, it's almost a good thing because then they can find some other things that might catch their eye. And there's so much good stuff coming out right now, but you gotta, it's a little bit under the surface. And if you don't have a shop that digs deep into previews every month, then it's going to be tough to see that. Because there's a lot of really good small press publishers right now, and a lot of smaller books. And it's really good.
And I swear that you must order one of everything off of previews.
I don't even
at least one.
I don't even order half of what's in previews.
It's insane.
Yeah, but I always like to try and get smaller books in, and that's when you start doing that stuff. You never know who is going to become that breakout star.
Right.
Mike Morisi that ended up doing a bunch of, Planet of the Apes stuff, a bunch of Star Wars stuff, and really working on some big properties. In addition to a ton of other stuff he's doing right now. But he's a really good writer, really nice guy, really good guy. And I had him in the store years ago doing a signing where he just had a bunch of smaller books, basically. The Planet of the Apes had just come out. Super nice guy. But now he's on these huge things. And now people are like, Eric Powell, those guys, it's like, wait, where's that older stuff? What's going on here?
Right.
And yeah, people want to check that out. They want to see it.
Right. Yeah, I think, and I think that the climate for comic books right now is kind of the readers. It's a reader's market.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hobbyist market.
Yeah,
I think we're getting the speculators out of it because there's not a quick profit in it anymore.
Yeah, it's a long game if you're going to do speculating.
Yeah, Which
you
it should
gotta,
be.
I mean, which it should be, but I mean, you gotta come in and you gotta, like, the hot books right now are not going to be the hot books next week.
Right.
Or next month, or maybe not even next year. But, I mean, and people come in, and again, what do I buy? I don't get this as much anymore. But, what do I invest in? And I say a savings account. If you go up and you open a savings account in a bank, or you do a certificate of deposit, you are guaranteed a profit.
4.25%.
4.5. I just started another certificate. It's 4.5.
Yeah.
That's much better than getting off comic book right now.
Yeah.
And that's a guaranteed profit, right?
Well, and comics have always been that for collectors. Has always been that long game.
Yeah.
Like when I bought my Hulk 181, I didn't buy it because it was the first Wolverine. I just grabbed it off the shelf because I'm reading Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know who Wolverine was. Didn't know who he was for, a decade after that.
And maybe didn't even care.
Yeah.
You're just
Not
like,
really.
okay, cool, whole book. All right.
I was not impressed with Wolverine as a character when he first came. I didn't hate him, but I was like, okay.
Well, I mean,
He's in 2 issues and he's gone.
And he wasn't much yet.
Right.
Yeah. He was just kind of, okay.
And there was no tie-in to the X-Men. And
right.
nothing like that. So, and I think that's kind of where we're at. You're seeing a lot of new characters coming out. The Goblin stuff in Spider-Man. A lot of new characters, a lot of new Batman characters, a lot of new Star Wars characters.
Oh, yeah.
So
many everythings.
There was like 13 new first appearances in the new Dark Horse Star Wars adventures.
God, right? Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna buy a book to speculate on whether a character is going to go someplace, don't buy the shotgun approach because that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. That's a tough sell. And you're also going to lose your ass. I mean, you're gonna lose money. And that's what everybody used to say. They're like, well, what about Walking Dead #1? That's worth $1,000. I'm like, well, what about it? And you have got to pick up every book on the shelf to get that $1,000 book.
Well,
which is an anomaly anyway.
Nobody bought Walking Dead #1 because it was going to be worth $1,000.
Right.
A bunch of freak little goth kids picked it up because it was zombies killing people. That's why people bought Walking Dead #1.
I was a freak. I mean, I didn't even buy it until issue 2 came out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the guy that did Marvel Team Up and Marvel Zombies. I'll check it out.
And there's I know people that swear buy every indie first. And I mean, eventually you'll hit, but how many do you have to buy before you get that, $1,000 book?
Yeah. So you got a $1,000 book if you buy every indie book that comes out in, say 6 months. #1, right? Now, I do have a guy that actually told me he wanted all the #1 issues. Like, he just wants all the #1 issues. But he doesn't want it for investing. He wants it to read them and see if it's something that he'll like. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But if you're gonna hit every single one of those, I mean, at $4-5 a pop, right? What's that? 5 times 200 is 1,000. You get 200 books, you get $1,000 book out of it. At best, you're breaking even. But how do you know if you've only bought 200, you're going to get that $1,000 book? You're going to buy 600 books for $4 or $5 a piece.
And very rarely will you get a $1,000 indie. I mean, Walking Dead was a fluke.
It so was.
And it had to do with timing. The timing was perfect. They had a great show with a great cast.
Well, they had a show with a great cast. It was a show with a great cast.
The first few seasons, 3-4 seasons.
No, I enjoyed the first season. I did not. I don't know. The second was okay. So that being said, though, #1, plush #1.
Well, and I think that's actually a great segue.
Thank you.
So
that's a segue even Joe Bluth could love.
That's a segue that won't go off a cliff. So it's hard to determine what's going to be hit, right? Like nobody knew Ninja Turtles one was going to be Ninja Turtles one, or
No.
Mouse was going to be Mouse. Or,
They didn't even know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
they didn't know.
And I think that's kind of what we're in right now. You see Amazing Spider-Man #1 that came out
Mm-hmm.
3 months ago or whatever it was,
So which one?
with 28 different covers, and
Yeah.
everybody had their hand in it. And is that a #1 worth picking up?
If you like to read Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah, for reading, but is that the kind of #1 that you sink money into for an investment?
I would say no.
Probably not.
No.
But a book like this, unexpectedly, Plus #1 is completely sold out in one day, which for a small creator indie book is completely unheard of.
Yeah.
These days.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you the last time a #1 of anything, Something's Killing the Children, didn't sell out.
No, it didn't. You know, the last one I remember selling out that quick was You Promised Me Darkness. Remember how fast that went?
That went quick.
And that went really fast. But nobody bought 2.
Right.
But this one, people will buy 2.
Well, and there was a lot of hype around You Promised Me Darkness.
That it did not live up to, in my opinion.
I enjoyed it. It was okay. And there's some beautiful covers for it. But it was hyped, whereas this, the only hype I heard, and I'm sure it's because, I'm in Utah, I'm Facebook friends with Doug and whatnot, so I heard that it was coming, and I saw
you can't say Facebook friends with Doug and whatnot anymore, because whatnot's a thing now.
Oh, that's true.
Remember
that's
that.
true. That's true.
Facebook friends with Doug.
Well, I am Facebook friends with whatnot as well.
No, I'm not going to go there. Okay.
But I'm sure that's why I've heard about it. We talked to Doug and he's buddies and whatever. So we knew that it was coming, but for the hype wasn't around this book. If you look at other #1s that did well in the last year, or even in the last 3-4 years, Something's Killing the Children was really big. Department of Truth went really big. Ha Ha was really big when it first came out. Still, all of them holding well value-wise and sought after to some extent. Ice Cream Man. Nobody was on that when it first came out. There was no hype.
It's such a cool book,
but it's a great book, and that's what drove Ha Ha.
Yeah. One thing about Something Is Killing the Children is it was a perfect storm with Boom that we're not going to see again. It was slightly manipulated as far as availability and print run and stuff like that. That first one came out, and they were like, oh, okay, great. And I read it and was like, yeah, this is really good. That's about it.
Right.
Tinian had just done, The Woods, not too long before that, which was really good. I think a better book, honestly. I think The Woods is better.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not saying anything about Something's Killing the Children or SITTC or what the however people say it is. Just say the name.
Sick Dick?
Yeah, Sick Dick.
Right.
Yeah, Sick Dick. But, they had that come out, and then everything shut down for the pandemic.
Right.
They had second and third prints of it, right? But they weren't, they didn't have here's, 37 covers like Berserker or any of the other stuff that they're putting out right now, right? They had just a couple of covers, some incentives, whatever. And then they had some second and third prints. I think it was on second printing when things hit the fan, right? So, you got this going on, man. And all of a sudden everything shuts down. So you can't get any more of them. And people are like, oh, what am I going to read? Oh, this is cool. This is new. I'll check that out, right? So then you got that situation. People are like, oh, well, now I want one. And then they're going online to find them. And then that, I think, is artificially driving the price up on them. And then, boom, for like, and a person that doesn't work there anymore told me this when retailers used to have contact with Boom, which we don't anymore.
Right.
They were like, well, the pandemic shut everything down. We can't get in the warehouse to fill orders. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you have keys to the warehouse and it's your warehouse. That doesn't have anything to do with the pandemic. So I feel like they were making it more scarce than it is.
Right. Because they saw that it was on this trajectory.
Yes. Yeah, and they were like, oh, well, let's do this then. Maybe we can push that over here. Maybe we can make it more of a big deal. Wait a little bit to do another printing, this and that. But, I mean, that's like me saying, well, I can't ship anything out to you. I'm sorry. There's a pandemic and I can't get into my store. That's just absolutely not true. It's your storage. You can get in there.
Right.
And if it's somebody at Boom that's talking to a retailer and the retailer's like, hey, then we need 20 more copies of this. Like, that person can literally go to the warehouse, get it out, and ship it to me. I'd had that happen before. I'd had them ship me things before like that. And yeah, you have to, drop the invoices and all that kind of stuff. But there is absolutely no way that somebody couldn't get in that warehouse and ship things out. No way. Same thing with the trade paperback. You couldn't get the trade paperback either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do not even tell me this. You guys have trades. Don't tell me you don't have any trade paperbacks of this. That is crap.
I mean, even if they don't, a trade paperback by its nature is print on demand. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I feel like they manipulated things just a little bit there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was that, perfect storm of stuff. Tinian was starting to get really big. It was a new book that was hot that people liked. The print run was lower. All these things, the pandemic, the scarcity of things, all that stuff just came together. I mean, I guarantee you, they've got a box of second printings and probably first printings in the warehouse right now.
Sure
they do. Yeah. So I don't think we're ever going to see anything like that again. And I also think that the price on that is ridiculously high.
I think it's much higher than what it probably should be.
I think it should be a $20 book.
I don't know. I think that book is a bit more important than that. I think I could realistically see it raw as a $40, $50 book.
Maybe it's
$250 where I'm at. It certainly should not be
$250 in the book,
in my opinion.
Yeah, no.
I mean, but I'm notoriously cheap. It's hard for me to evaluate what I think of the book.
Well, yeah, but you're overvaluing it in my eyes.
True. And there's people with 9-8 copies of it sitting down in their basement right now that think I'm extremely low. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's also very subjective.
Well, but I mean, that brings up the other thing. Do you want to price people out of the hobby?
Well,
or do you want people to buy stuff? Because people buy a $20 first issue.
Right.
That's a few years old.
Right.
Very few people buy a $250 first issue. And that book, with all the reprints they've done, I mean, they've done, 10, 11 prints altogether, including the slaughter packs and all that stuff. And
I do believe that
it's readily available.
That's something that we don't take into account enough.
Yeah.
Like your readers, your hobbyists, your readers are going to, I mean, it doesn't matter to me whether I have a first print or a fourth print.
If you're going to read it, you're going to read it. I mean, collector/reader, I want all the prints, but does this look like I'm patting him on the head and doing it? Because there they go. Oh, yeah. No, not really. It's like I'm resting my arm on him. Okay.
But I do believe, I think I have like a 7th print of that book.
Mm-hmm.
A 7th print.
Yeah.
And, okay, so a 7th print, you get to that point, it should be $1.
You should be reprinting them for $1.
Yeah.
They should be, the image first or the true.
And I do think that's one thing that Bad Idea did right. I like the You know, if you're going to have something and build a collectible market, you do your first prints. When those are gone, everything else is the same. No third, fourth, everything else is the same.
Yeah, I just don't like the way they did it.
I don't.
I think the way they did it was very scammy.
Yeah, from a collector's and end user collector's point of view, it's hard for me to justify saying it was scamming because I don't know from your point of view. I mean, I know that a lot of what they did kind of cut out a lot of independent comic shops.
Well, and it's not even that. Now, my problem with that is saying, okay, you have to go get this book. You can only buy one copy. We're never going to do a second print. So it forced people in to buy them. The fear of missing out thing during the pandemic era. Forced people to come in, and we're like, oh my god, man, they're creating this investment, and it forced people to come in, buy them, and then they were like, oh look, we're doing a reprint, and people were like, well, you said you weren't going to do a second print, so we're scavenging all over the place trying to find this book, and they said, oh, it's not a second print, it's a reprint.
But that's not.
And I'm like, no,
I don't think that's how they did it.
Yeah,
what I saw is they put out first prints, and they said, we're not doing subsequent printings.
Right.
And they said, what we are doing, they told us straight up, what we are doing is not first prints. So they're going to be print on demand.
At the beginning, they did not say that.
I never heard anything about them not saying that.
Yeah.
It may have been, but even at that may have came up with the popularity of ENIAC, and then from then on,
right.
we knew what the deal was.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I understand what they're doing, but they're playing games. They are playing games.
A lot.
I don't like. I don't like that. Just put out a book. Have people. I mean, you want readers or do you want investors? If you want investors, you're going to be Valiant from the '90s, and you're going to go away.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a company creating that investor market for their product. I actually think it's kind of cool because now I've got ENIAC's first print. I've got one of those. I've got Sleigh Bells first print. I've got this stuff, and I really enjoyed it, and it's part of my collection because I think it's cool. But there's people that don't care. There's people that don't care about. They just want to know if it's a good story. Well, it's a fantastic story. You should be able to go buy the not first print,
or you know what? You should buy a trade paperback
or a trade paperback.
And I don't like the you can carry our book. You can't. Right. You can't. You can. You're too close to somebody else that can. You can't. I mean, what is this, man? And then they got a sheet of rules you have to follow, and then they tell you that you have to match your orders on number 2, 3, and 4 for number one. No, you can't tell me how to order for my store. That doesn't work.
Right.
That's not going to happen, man. I mean, that's like somebody coming in and me saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, this $3 comic." To me, it's the same. $3 or $4 comic, I'm going to sell it to you for $0.25. And they're like, oh, great. Do you want a bag and board? Yeah. The bag and board's $6.
Right.
It's a bait and switch, man. Yeah. And I don't like it. I think it's dishonest, and I think it's playing games.
I don't think that they set out to be combative or anything like that. It just got too cheeky. Like selling donuts with free comic books.
Yeah, and it's just dumb.
It's stupid.
It's playing games with readers.
I think that's insulting to the hobbyist.
It is,
to be honest with you.
And it's insulting to shops.
But I do really enjoy the books, and they're excellent quality, like the writing, the art.
And I wouldn't know
physical makeup
because I'm apparently not good enough to carry them.
Well, and that's that's obviously problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I have people that hear about these books, and they're like, "Oh man, can you get this and put it in my hold?" I'm like, "No, I can't."
I don't think that they thought it through. I don't think that they the unseen, unintentional consequence of what they did is they were thinking if we limit it to, like, you've got 4 shops in Salt Lake, let's say this one shop can sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me being the person that I am, I've got relationships with every shop
Right.
in Salt Lake, so I go
Yeah.
to every single shop on a weekly basis, and I'm
Mhm.
friends with everybody. So I was able to pick them up. I
Yeah.
didn't know the background. I didn't know the stories. I didn't know
Right.
I just went in there and they're like, "This is a cool book." I'm like, "All right, I'll give it a shot."
Yeah.
And I lucked out, got a first print ENIAC on the day of release, and it was what it was. But what I think in their mind, their thought was, if we do that, then that shop is going to be loyal to us. That shop's going to get all the customers because all the customers are going to want these books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know, not only do I know all the shop owners in Salt Lake, but I know all the hardcore collectors.
Mhm.
And it's not the same crowd that goes to that store that comes to this store.
No, it's not. And
Like-
there are plenty of people that go to both, go to all.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, they're not, and I again, I think that's manipulative. I think it's trying to manipulate the market. You know, and I just don't like it. You know, and it's like talking about the acetate thing on Ultimate Fallout that gets the Ultimate Fallout. It's like the bad idea of publishing. That's a bad idea.
Right.
You know, I mean, and I wouldn't if they came to every shop and contacted people, you know, or you know they had you know, I don't know, they got a hold of the Diamond account list, you know, and or comic shop locator or whatever, you know, and if they approached everyone and said, hey, we've got this new line coming out, we got some great creators, we got some really cool stuff, you know, and we're not going to do second prints, but we're going to do reprints, because I'm sorry, they're all second prints. If you're reprinting somebody,
Right.
it's a infinite second printing.
Right.
Okay. You know, so you're gonna have that. And we would really like to work with shops. You know, we're gonna do them exclusively in shops. We're not gonna go through Barnes and Noble or Walmart or anything like that. Then you know what? I would have some respect for that. And I'd be like, okay, great. You should change the name of your publisher because it's not a bad idea. It's a great idea.
So you knew, I mean, obviously you knew what was happening. Bad idea when they
Mhm.
when they first started
Mhm.
coming on the scene. Did you have the opportunity? Did they talk to you
No,
about carrying?
not at all.
books? And that's where they fell short. And that's why I think those books didn't get any traction.
Mhm.
Because I could come in here on a Wednesday and I could point out 10 people that have never read a Bad Idea book, because
11.
they're not gonna shop at the other place.
Yeah.
And fine, that's their prerogative.
I mean, you know, loyalty, that's great. I mean, I am very happy for the loyalty of my customers that are very loyal to me, you know, but I also understand that tons of people go all other places, and yeah, and people actually apologize. They're like, oh, I went up to Fulton and I had to grab this. I'm like, well, why are you apologizing for me for, man? Or to me for? I go out of town, I hit some other shops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
nobody has everything. I get it.
It's not even a loyalty thing. Like, there are people, we come in here on a Wednesday, there's 5 or 6 people that don't have a driver's license. They're not going to drive.
Well, that's true.
They're not going to hop on the bus.
That
Like,
is true. They live close.
It's an hour and a half to get from here to there.
Yeah, that is true.
It takes
That is
me
also
20
true.
minutes on the freeway, but if you're riding the bus, it's an hour and a half. Nobody's going to ride an hour and a half to get that one book
Right.
that
Yeah.
they don't really know anything about.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, I don't really, I don't care for any of the way they did it. You know, now if they're going through Diamond, which I hear they are, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about that.
You know, and they put their little ash can. It's a preview in a catalog. No, it's not an
Yeah.
ash can. You know, and they put in that, and they kept calling it an ash can. It's not an ash can. It's a preview in a book called Previews. That's what that book is for.
Right.
Okay. And they did that, and then they didn't put anything in the. I haven't ordered anything from them yet. You know, if they are in the Diamond catalog, sure, I'll order from them. I'll stock them, you know. And if there's a cool book that looks like it's something I'll like, yeah, I'll read it. But I'm sure as hell not going to drive all over the city, especially since I own a comic shop, and look for that.
Well, and that
it's not going to happen.
That is another major drawback to that business model, right? Is how many even those of us that collect and read and all that will come in here and we're like, hey, Greg, what's good this week? What have you read? What if you don't get a chance to read their book, you're not going to recommend their book,
right?
Because you're not going to recommend a book you haven't read.
Yeah. I mean, you know, is it going to be, you know, and is it going to be a situation where I just don't understand the business model, you know? And so, you know, when they come out through Diamond, are they going to do the same books that they've already done? Are those going to be first prints? Are they going to be cheeky and clever and ha wink wink and say, oh, it's not first print?
They're going to be,
you know, and what are they going to be?
Exclusives.
Yeah, and, you know, exactly. You know, are they going to be Diamond retailer exclusives? Are they going to be like, what are they? You know, what do I tell people when they come in and they're like, I thought this came out 2 years ago? Well, it kind of did.
And it's really doing a disservice to their talent. The books are fantastic.
But they're not giving their talent any exposure.
ENIAC was a great story. The Lot is, you would love The Lot. Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And there's no, it's like their entire company builds their brand around the gimmick.
Yeah.
Not the talent, not the art.
Right. Yeah. You know, and that's not fair.
But it's about the gimmick, and gimmicks get lost.
Yeah.
Like you said, 90s Valiant. How many gimmicks got lost in 90s Valiant?
Right. And there are some great creators there.
Yeah.
Really good stuff there. Barry Windsor Smith and, you know, Dave Latham and like all these guys are
great characters. Harbinger.
Yeah.
Like fantastic stuff that got lost in the shuffle because
they're not lost anymore. They're in my quarter books or quarter boxes. So, you know, I mean, and then my other question is even further looking down the line, what kind of damage, long-term damage, is that going to do to their brand when you've got somebody that was running around all over the place 2 years ago trying to get that one issue? And there were some people that did, you know, and they got that one issue and they're like, yes, I have this really cool thing. And then all of a sudden they put the same thing out to everybody and then they don't have that really cool thing anymore. Or is it a version? How pissed off are they going to be? You know, they're not going to come back and do that, and because they're not going to trust anything they say. Because I don't trust anything that publisher says.
Well,
Nothing.
Honestly, I don't think it matters at this point because what we've seen in the recent crash is the bro collectors are leaving the hobby, and they're leaving quick.
Yeah,
like there's skid marks from their tennis shoes on the floor.
Yes,
and that was their customer. That's who they marketed to. That's who their gimmicks appealed to. So, I mean, it's really, in the end, isn't going to matter.
Yeah.
Now they have to see if they can get the serious reader that wants a story that's
right.
You know, and take it home on a Wednesday night and sit down.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if they can capture it, honestly. I don't know.
I think the quality of their product is there. Because there's a lot of stuff I would recommend to people. But I don't think that they have the mindset to pivot to a collector.
No, so I don't think they. And honestly, I don't think they have any integrity.
They need to stick to donuts at this point.
Of a donut shop, there you go. Of a donut shop with some reader copies.
There's just nothing there for. I mean, the new comics hobby that we're seeing in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's not for the bro collectors anymore. Like they're done.
Yeah. Yeah, they're finished with it, and I, you know, there are a couple of people that would literally come in with their books and they would lay them out, and they would check them out, and they do this, and they'd like measure them, and you know, I haven't seen those guys in months,
right?
Months, you know, and it's like, yeah, last year I got this NYX 3 and 4. I got the NYX 3 and 4 in a collection I bought today. Last year I would have slapped him.
Yeah.
Because last year I would have made 3 times book on it. I'm putting them up there right now.
Yeah.
You know, for a fair price, I want to get rid of them, and I'm not into this. I'm going to slab, and because those guys aren't around anymore, and I have to cater to all kinds of different customers, because that's just business. That's running a business, and you have to do that, but you can't leave anybody out.
Yeah, because if somebody comes in right now and wants every copy of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man #1,
I will be right back.
You're an
Give me
idiot
just a
not to
second.
sell.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Would you like help to your car? Because I got a few of them. So I'm not going to say no, but at the same time, those I'm not going to specifically cater to just that kind of collector or reader. I've got all kinds. I've got people that come in and only get quarter books.
Right.
I got people that come in and only get dollar books. I got people that come in and buy a lot of the more expensive stuff. I've got people that come in that get their hold and they're like, they take the bags and boards off and they're like, I don't want bags and boards. I'm just going to read them. I got people that buy them and bring them back later and say, here you go. Thanks. Yeah. There's all kinds of different collectors, and you can't tell those people no, but at the same time, you can't change your business just to follow that and only cater to one sort of collector or reader. And I think that's what they did.
Right.
And I don't think they have the mindset to expand.
Yeah.
I just don't think they do.
And they certainly left out the larger. Everybody has I would say that they, as a company, some of the other companies that are feeling the burn right now have done the same thing, very similar things in catering to that crowd.
Yeah.
All of the pop-up shops that do specialty covers, the exclusive cover crew.
Those guys are starting.
Those
to be
guys
in trouble.
are feeling the burn really bad right now,
and they've got a warehouse full of stuff that reminds me so much of the '90s.
And there's a couple of those places that did it right, and they're going to survive this because they diversified and invested in other things and didn't cater to just that. I think that's why, in my opinion, our friends over at Hive had the right idea. Jonathan loves comics.
Yeah,
he loves indie books. Like he's real big into that scene.
Well, James and Jonathan still pick up stuff and read it.
Yeah. So they're going to survive it. But the people that got into it to make a quick buck and, to do 5,000 copies of this Marvel book and get it out as quick as they could.
Yeah.
They're sitting on warehouses full of stuff and putting acetate on it.
Yeah, right. Oh. No, I mean, I guarantee you, man, and in 4 or 5 years, if that, you're going to have, God, man, you're going to have people with cases of Black Flag books and unknown comics and Eminem and all this stuff.
It's going to be in your quarter bins.
Yeah.
It'll be all over in your quarter bins.
Yeah, well, you're going to see them like crazy. I mean, I'm already starting to see them come in.
Yeah.
I mean, I get collections all the time that have exclusives
and they paid $40-$50 for a set. They're $5 books,
right? Yeah, I mean,
which means you're paying $2 for them.
Yeah, I mean,
at best.
Well, God, man, I have people that bring in, short boxes, and they're like, "Give me $50 for this or a long box." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And I go through. There's 10 different unknown comics variants, and but I put them out, $10, take 10% off, sell them my half price sales. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and I'm not going to put those things up for $50, $60, $100.
And people like my buddy Chad, that he's really into Clayton Crane's work.
Hey, Chad.
But he doesn't do it for the investment. He buys it because he loves the covers.
Because he loves it. Really cool. He likes the art.
It's a cool piece of art for him.
Yeah.
And he slabs them. And those are the people, honestly, that are keeping me in business.
Yeah. No, I thought you were going to give me more credit than that.
All right. So I'm going to give... So this is my prediction. I think 2023, Doug Wagner's year.
Year of the Doug?
Year of the Doug.
Chinese year of the Doug?
It's going to... I think he's going to bust out in 23.
Yeah?
I think so. I mean, he's not small potatoes. Like, he's done some pretty big projects. but I think that this book is going to throw him on the map, and people are going to take a serious look at what he's doing.
You know, I really hope so, because I've always thought that he's deserved to be bigger.
Definitely
You know,
deserves to be bigger.
He is very talented. He's a great guy. You know, and like I've never ever heard him say. I know a lot of comic creators, and some of them get to be a bit much sometimes. You know, but I've never ever heard Doug say, you know, yeah, I'm doing a really great job, or I deserve better, or I don't know, me. No, it's always, you know, I ran out of plush yesterday. Here's a good example. Okay, I ran out of plush in like under about 2 hours yesterday. All my copies are gone.
Yeah,
you know. So I messaged Doug and I said, "Hey, man, is there any way, you know, in the next little bit, I can get some extra copies from you?" You know, because I knew he had his copies. You know, and he's like, "Oh yeah, all I have is cover A," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fantastic. You know, whatever you can, bring it." An hour later, he was here, hand delivering these books, saying, "Wow, man, I can't believe they sold like that. That's so cool, man." You know, a couple people here signing them. You know, signed Beck's copies. You know, and he's just such a nice guy. You know, and it's never what can you do for me. It's always what can I do for you.
Yeah.
And that's why I will do damn near anything for that guy, because he's such a good guy. You know, he's a good friend. He's always helped the shop. You know, and he's just a good dude.
Yeah.
So he deserves it.
I truly believe he deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Like his work is phenomenal. I mean, he really is extremely talented. If he was the biggest tool on earth, I'd still buy his stuff because it's really cool.
Good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a person and a ambassador for comics,
Oh my God, man.
he's top.
Yeah, you know, if we can have more of that in comics, and you know, less of the, I don't know. There are a couple of names right now that are getting a little too big for themselves. I had a customer the other day that was talking about a very big writer that he follows on Twitter that just tore him apart, just went off on him, you know, because he was, you know, and all he said was, "Hey, you know, everything okay? I thought you were doing well."
Sounds like me and Eric Larson.
Yeah, no, you know. No, but yeah, then he tore him apart, you know, and he's like, "But I buy all your books, man." You know, all this stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, not cool.
So yeah, I'm predicting 23 year of the Doug.
Year of the Doug. Let's do it.
All right.
Well, 2022, year of the lovesick. That book. Oh my God, my phone. Sorry, it won't stop. Make sure. Don't people know how important I am? Why do they have telemarketers calling me? You know, when I have to walk away for stuff, I should change my shirt and come back, and you just splice it, get it right back in, so you don't even know, right?
Yeah.
And then we don't say anything at all about it. Or come back in a jacket. Yeah.
Or Beck come and sit here.
Oh God, that'd be great. Yeah, Beck just sits here, doesn't move, doesn't even move their mouth. I'm behind. I'm over there going, "Well, I think the lovesick is." No, okay, lovesick. So I loved Red Room, as horrifying and gross as it was. I absolutely loved that.
It was pretty gross.
You know, it was really gross. And this lovesick. Screw your stand up here. Lovesick. So Luana Vecchio. I don't actually know who that is. You know, and she's got this image book, big image book, right? I decided I was going to look this person up. because after reading the second issue, I was like, what kind of twisted monster would write this stuff? I love it. I guess the same kind of twisted monster that would read it. But I looked her up. I didn't even know him, her. I don't know. I'm like, well, let's look that up. And it's this just like she looks like mid-20s, maybe, just really cute, nice looking Italian girl. She looks really nice and just like really sweet. And I'm like, well, I must have looked that up incorrectly. So I looked it up again. And then I was like, oh my God, it is. And I was like, this is insane. She just seems so sweet and nice. You know what I mean? And it's kind of the same thing with Doug.
Right.
Because you're like, dude, come on, man. This stuff is messed up.
His stuff gets dark, too.
Yeah, no. And then he's such a nice guy. But, I mean, I don't know if she's nice or not. I never met her. But she just looks really sweet and just innocent, This book... Oh, man.
Okay.
I mean, Red Room showed more, but this tells more. And I think maybe telling more is more disturbing to me. Because then I have to think about what they're saying. Red Room was just like... Red Room was like drinking a half a bottle of whiskey and going on a roller coaster. You're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be sick or not, but this is a rush.
Right.
But this is just like, man, this is more like getting under my skin. Because there's terrible things that they're describing. I read you that one panel and you were like, no.
Yeah, it was a bit much. That's not my kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little surprised to see it from an Image book.
Yes.
Which was my first thought.
That was very intense. I thought this would be a lesser version of Red Room.
Right.
But it's kind of a more disturbing version of Red Room.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
God, no.
It's interesting to me because you and I had this discussion. I believe it was one of the first 2 or 3 episodes that we did. We were talking about the different publishers and about how Image had kind of lost that edge. They found it.
They found that edge. They sharpened the edge. Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely nuts. But really good. And it's a well done book, though. That's the thing. It's like, and people are like, oh, I'm never watching Serbian film. I'm like, you shouldn't. But it's a well made movie. Right. It's like, no. Nobody I shouldn't have watched that. Never mind twice. But I mean, ugh.
Luca.
Yeah. I don't think that it's a title that I'm going to be into.
Yeah.
But then who knows? I picked up Red Room. I did pick up Red Room.
There you go. No, I mean, for people that missed Crossed and Red Room, this is your book.
Which one?
All right.
Yeah.
So very interesting to me that Image is kind of going that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're never going to see that certainly not from Marvel.
No.
Some of the DC stuff is getting a bit edgy for them, but I think they pushed it as far as they're going to.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go any further.
But I would think from such a major publisher, Image kind of doing this, basically just handing that control back over to the creator to play in their own sandbox.
And I love that, man. I love that when they're like, here, just go do this.
Right.
Go do it. It's awesome.
And under an Image banner, they're going to have a much wider distribution, so they're going to like that opens up their career to something much bigger.
And I would imagine probably the first issue of Lovesick outsold all the issues of Red Room put together.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fantagraphics. I mean, I was going to get it because I think Ed Pisker's great.
Right.
And he definitely explored some dark places there. And I really like Fantagraphics. I like a lot of the stuff that they do. But it got bigger afterward. But this has got a much bigger audience. And I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see what she does next. If she keeps on this trajectory or if she backs off a little bit and this is like look at this.
Right.
You know, it's like a Peter Jackson thing. You know what I mean? When you get bad taste and it's just so over the top that it's like, oh my god. And then he's like, oh, we must find a ring.
I do kind of hope that what we're seeing here with them and Dark Horse too, to some extent, these larger publishing houses giving the opportunities to artists like this to come in and create, and maybe we will see something bigger for like the smaller self-published creators to do something.
And that would be great because I enjoy, Bendis and Donny Cates and Jason Aaron, and I enjoy their work. I do. But I don't know, and it goes to Tinian and these guys, but I don't know if they need to take up that huge space of the industry.
Right.
I would very much like to maybe have all those guys doing, 2 books a month, and then scooting over a little bit, making room for some newer creators, and some newer ideas.
That's a very valid point. If you had Tinian doing 2 books a month instead of, I don't even know how many he's on. Right?
I have no idea, and I like all of them. I'm not complaining about the quality.
They're starting to get diluted.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say I haven't read all of them, like Win, stuff like that. I haven't read the fantasy, more of the fantasy stuff. A lot of his superhero stuff and a lot of his horror stuff, like all of his horror stuff, basically.
Donny Cates, you can tell Donny Cates is getting burned out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like his Thor just kind of fell off,
and everything is 2 or 3 months late.
Yeah,
and I think that has to do with a lot of personal stuff as well. But
and I'm not at all criticizing what he's doing. I think he does great work.
Mm-hmm.
But stick to a couple books and you do them well, and let somebody else tell their story.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad to see these other companies opening things up like that. Even though Dark Horse is basically given Bendis carte blanche, and that's fine. That's great. But with Dark Horse, they're not using him to push anybody else out. Everybody else is also getting their chance, and I like. I wish they, and I wish Marvel and DC would do more of that, and not necessarily just be like, oh well, yeah, you're a new creator, you've got a voice, that's great. Here's another Batman book. Here's another Star Wars book or another X-Men book. I wish they would trim that down and give other voices and other people some different opportunities to tell their own stories.
I just don't think we will ever see that certainly not from Marvel, probably not from DC.
No, I don't think we will.
Just because it doesn't fit the corporate formula.
Yeah, right. And they are huge corporations now.
Yeah.
So
go pick up Lovesick. Definitely
if
pick
you
up
can
Plush.
Handle it.
Definitely pick up Plush.
Yes.
Good stuff there. Make sure you tune in on Wednesdays where we come to you live. We go down the wall and show you all the new books that came out this week or last week or next week, as the case may be.
Either week, whatever week.
Whatever week we happen to be in. Wednesdays at 10:30 Mountain Time. And Greg will let you know what his picks are for the week. And I don't know where I was going, but
I don't know either, but it's nice of you to go.
This, of course, drops every Monday. Everything's late. Nobody dies. Every Monday at 8 a.m. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can be... Ring the beaker. So you can be notified for
the beaker.
whenever anything drops. All right. We'll see you later, traders.
Bye.